Hello pen people, I am back with you again. We are still going through my pens. We're still in the letter A, and now we're going to be talking about the Armando Simoni Club pen that I have here. It comes boxed in cardboard as you see, and inside is a smooth box with a magnetic closure. There's a Greek key pattern printed into it, and you can see the symbol for Armando Simoni Club there. And when you open up the box, you can see no compromise. Our pens are 100% handmade in Italy, and we are proud of that. And then there's a booklet in here, which goes through the history. So Armando Simoni was the founder of the legendary brand Omas and all of the amazing pens that came from that line. And it has been revived by, well, the styles have been revived by Emanuele Caltagirone, and I'm sure I'm pronouncing his name wrong, and I apologize for that. I believe that what happened was that Emanuele was able to purchase the old stock of the Arco Bronze and the Arco Verde celluloid, and was able to make pens, new pens, based on some of the original aesthetics of the Omas line. This one is based on the Bologna, and you can see there's a couple other versions, different materials, and there's that, and it came with a feltish pen sleeve. Then the pen itself is housed in this, I don't know what else to call it other than a window box. It too is held closed with magnets, and then the pen is inside. We'll look at that in just a moment. There's a pen bed here, and of course there's more writing and information in there. There's cards and such in here as well, talking about the pen, in your specific pen. And then this right here, which is kind of interesting, this is a bit of schwarf from the lathe that made the pen, and you can see the lines of the Arco celluloid in there as it was being cut to produce the pen. The pen comes in this interesting netting, which is to protect it as well. It expands to fit around the pen, and then there's a pen nib, or rather a clip medallion with the ASC logo on it. We'll put those things away and look at the item at hand here. It is not a small pen. This thing, I'm sorry, my chair's a little squeaky. I'm at my 100-year-old plus, I don't know how old it is, but it's at least 100 years old secretary desk. I had to put new leather in it. This is that green Crazy Horse leather that brands such as Galen are using. And so you can see the pen. It is made with this Arco celluloid, and Arco celluloid is called that because when you cut it, and you cut it at an angle, these arcs appear in places like you can see there in that blind cap. And it is layers of a chatoyant silver with a green mottled celluloid. And if you can see from the side here, you can see the lines of the celluloid as we could see in that schwarf that was cut away from the pen. But when you polish it, the colors come out, and the chatoyance of that silvery material, let's catch it in the light there. It's just gorgeous. And this pen lines up beautifully so that the blind cap and the barrel and the cap line up with the Arco. There's a roller clip. Some people have complained that the clip is too small. It should be larger to match the size of the pen. Well, I mean, you can have a ridiculously huge clip too, which would also be silly. I think this is just fine. And then there's the medallion with the ASC Club logo on it, and then this there's two thin bands and then a thick band on the cap there. It's a Greek key design through it, and then that band here around the blind cap. The finials are conical and smooth. So unlike the Paragon, the My Lord, this is not faceted. It is perfectly smooth and round, but it has a similar shape. It reminds me also of the Wall Eversharp Equipoised from 100 years ago or so. There's a hole in the bottom of the blind cap you can see there, and I'll explain that in a moment. When you unscrew the cap comes off, of course, and it does not post. This pen is so large you wouldn't want to post it anyway, and if you did, you'd probably end up cracking the celluloid here, so it's not worth it. I just never write with it posted. The band features are repeated here in the section, which I love. Oftentimes when you take a cap off a pen, all of the ornamentation disappears with the cap and you're left with a rather plain pen, but not with this. You've got this beautiful Arco celluloid running through the cap and the section all the way up through the nib so that they're all kind of in line there. And again, just stunningly beautiful materials. The nib is a large nib. It is what they call the Magic Flex nib, and it does have a good amount of flex to it. The feed is a ebonite feed, and it's a split feed, so that there is the main piece here with the fins, and then there's another piece that rides between the main feed and the nib, and that carries the ink channels, and it can flex along with the nib as you press, so that when you're writing flexed and the nib lifts away from the feed, that thin piece of feed will follow with it, and it will continue to supply it ink. That is not a unique design. The venerable Mont Blanc 149 has a similar feed. As you can see there, it's the same ebonite there with the fins, and then there's a second piece there that can split away from, I don't know if you can see that or not, split away from the nib, the feed and the nib anyway. It is not a small pen. It is not light either. Now, it's not so heavy that it is obnoxious to me, but it is substantial. There is a bit of brass inside this pen, which makes it weigh 57 grams total with the cap on. Uncapped, it weighs about 45.5 grams, so it loses quite a bit when the cap is taken off. And to me, it is a good weight. You know it's in your hand, it's heavy, it stays planted in your hand, but it's not so heavy that I feel like I'm struggling to hold on to it. In comparison, for example, I believe my heaviest pen is this one here, which is the Ink by Kara's Pen Co., and this one's made out of solid bronze. This thing weighs 98 grams. I mean, it's just, even though it's considerably smaller, it weighs, you know, quite a bit more, 57 to 98 grams. That's a substantial difference. This one can be hard to hold on to over time. I do not find this one to be so. It is also a long pen. It's 16 centimeters long, or about 6 1/4 inches, which is large for a pen. It's definitely oversized, which is why I believe it's called the the Bologna Extra. Extra meaning extra large. To compare it to some other pens, both in weight and in size, let's look at two very standard pens. A lot of size comparison is made with them. The Lamy Safari and the Pilot Metropolitan. Now, the Safari weighs a whopping 17 grams, so it's an incredibly light pen. So this weighs 40 grams more than the Safari, but there's a lot more going on with it, of course. The Metropolitan, which is a considerably smaller pen by all means, weighs 25 grams, and that's because the body of this pen is made out of brass. But size-wise, you can see that these are rather small. And the Safari is not a small pen. It's just dwarfed by this Bologna Extra. So size-wise, let's look at the 149 again. And of course, it is dwarfed by the Bologna. How about a Pelikan M1000? How about that? Still, it's quite a bit larger. Well, what about a Pilot Custom Urushi? That's got to be at least as big, right? Well, it is in girth, certainly a very large pen. It's just not as long, but it's kind of in the same class. They're oversized pens. And then how about a Namiki Emperor? So there are pens that are bigger than the ASC Bologna Extra, but they are few and far between. Now, talking about the filling mechanism, I did mention the blind cap. So back here, this cap unscrews, and there are a lot of threads, but don't despair, it will come undone. There we go. And then it is a pneumatic filler, which is something that Chilton used about 100 years ago. And what it is you pull back on this tube, and this is, the attention to detail in this pen is amazing, and the Greek key design and the etching on the nib and everything. But then they also went and they did some etching on this pneumatic tube, which is fantastic. It's got kind of a chevron design and some engraved lines in here, and it says Italy, and then their Monosimone Club symbol and the name of the company there as well. And it is in a chromed brass. To fill this pen, you would put your finger over this hole right there, and that would create, when you push down on it, it would build up pressure inside this tube because it's sealed with O-rings, and it would squeeze the section, the sac that's inside of there, and so you would push this down, and then you would lift your finger off of it, and then the sac would open up again as the pressure was relieved. It is an effective filling mechanism. It does work. This pen is full. I would have filled it for you, but this is my second filming of this video. Sadly, my camera died while I was doing it. Anyway, so it is full of ink, and we'll go ahead and do a quick little writing sample for you. Let's see if this helps here, and my squeaky chair. The chair is almost as old as the desk. That's why it's squeaky, sorry. So this is the Armando Simoni Club, or the ASC. The Bologna Extra Arco Verde. Lots of words for to name a pen, but it is a fabulous pen. The nib is Magic Flex. And none of them are sized. It comes one size kind of fits all, sort of. I don't know what else to call it, but it is very responsive. The flow from the ink is fantastic. I've never had it ink starve on me or anything like that. It is a very wet writer, as you can see. The ink in this is Noodler's Sequoia, which is, on the bottle it says it's the color of the largest tree on the face of the earth. Well, this isn't the largest pen on the face of the earth, but it certainly is close, I guess. And like I said, it's a good writer. To me, it's more of between a medium and a broad. It's a bold writing pen. It writes wet. It's very, very nice. And as mentioned, this pen is made in Italy, in Naples, and they do a beautiful job. Let me go ahead and just do a little bit of a writing sample here. I'm at an odd angle, so my writing's not going to be great. You hear some scratchiness. There is a little bit of feedback from the nib. It's not buttery smooth, but to those of you who like a little feedback, like a Sailor or a Platinum, this is certainly not unpleasant. And it may be able to be smoothed a little bit. I don't know. I find it perfectly adequate and a good writer, and it gives me a bit of control with the feedback. So I'm not going to do anything to it. So, I mean, this is a great pen. I really, really like it. The cost of admission to this pen is quite high. I don't know what they're going for now. I don't know if they're going to be making any more of them. One of the things I should mention here is that besides the fact that they took a good amount of time to align the nib with the Arco and everything in here, but there is an imprint on the barrel here, and it says ASC Bologna Extra Arco, and then it says number 113. Now so this is number 113. I don't know if that means all of the Arco pens they've made entirely, or just the Arco Verde, the green Arco. Whatever the case, they have a limited stock of this Arco, and I believe they're out or they're close to it. I don't know how many more pens they'll be able to make. Certainly not of this size, but the pen is almost a statement in and of itself. It's just a crazy, wonderful thing, and it's a pleasure to own and to use. If you get the opportunity to try one out, I hope you're able to. And I will leave you with that. Thank you very much.